Where are you?
Jason had always lived alone. He enjoyed the quiet, the predictability of his life. Every evening he'd return home from work, make dinner, and watch TV before bed. It was a routine he never thought twice about. Until the night he found the extra plate. It was a small thing at first, just an extra plate on the table. He frowned, wondering if he had absent-mindedly set it down earlier. Shrugging it off, he put it back in the cupboard. The next night, the plate was back, this time with crumbs scattered across its surface. His pulse quickened. Maybe he had forgotten. Maybe he had eaten and simply not realized. But he knew that wasn't right. Jason was meticulous. He never left dirty dishes out. The following night, he set a trap. Before bed, he placed all his dishes neatly in the cupboard, making sure there was no way an extra one could appear. He locked his bedroom door and lay awake, listening. Sometime in the middle of the night, he heard it, the faint clinking of silverware, the soft creak of a chair being pulled back. His breath hitched. The sound came from the dining room. Slowly, he reached for his phone and turned on the flashlight. The glow illuminated his door, still locked from the inside. His heart hammered in his chest as he swung his legs over the bed and moved toward it. The house was silent now, but the weight of something unseen pressed heavily in the air. With a deep breath, he turned the doorknob and stepped out into the hallway. The dining room was empty. The chair was pushed back slightly, as if someone had been sitting there, and on the table, an extra plate. This time, it wasn't empty. A half-eaten meal sat there, cold and untouched for who knows how long. A chill ran down his spine. He wasn't alone. Jason's mind raced. Had someone been sneaking into his house? Living in his walls? He checked every door, every window. All were locked, no signs of forced entry. The next morning, he installed security cameras. That night, he lay awake, watching the live feed on his phone. Midnight came, then 1 o'clock, 2, nothing. Then, at exactly 3:14 a.m., his blood turned to ice. A figure sat at the dining table, pale, featureless, humanoid, but wrong. It had no eyes, no mouth, no nose, just a smooth, undefined face. And yet, it sat, eating, moving its hands in mechanical, unnatural motions, as if mimicking an act it had no understanding of. Jason shut off his phone and clamped a hand over his mouth to stifle a scream. He could feel it now, the oppressive silence, the weight in the air. He knew without a doubt that it was still there, waiting, watching. And for the first time, Jason realized he had never truly been alone.
Where are you?
Lena's phone buzzed at 2:47 a.m. Groggy, she reached for it, expecting a spam call, but what she saw made her stomach drop. One new voicemail from Tara. That was impossible. Tara had died in a car accident 3 days ago. Lena sat up, her heart hammering. Maybe it was a glitch. Maybe someone had her phone. Hesitating, she pressed play. Static. Then a ragged breath. Lena, please, don't let it in. It's coming. It knows you can hear me. The message cut off. Lena clutched the phone, blood running cold. The message's timestamp was 5 minutes ago. She glanced at her bedroom door, suddenly aware of the silence in her apartment. No wind, no distant sirens, nothing. Then, a knock. A slow, deliberate knock at her front door. She nearly dropped the phone. Who would be at her door this late? Slowly, she slid out of bed, stepping into the hallway. The knocking continued. Lena peered through the peephole. Nothing. The hallway was empty. Her phone vibrated again, another voicemail. Hands shaking, she hit play. Lena, it's inside. Her breath hitched. The air turned icy. A sharp creak sounded behind her. She spun around. The closet door was open. Inside, something shifted in the darkness. And then she heard breathing.
Where are you?
Mark and Julie had been married for 5 years when they bought the old house on Willow Street. It was cheap, almost suspiciously so, but they couldn't resist the deal. The only warning the previous owner gave them was about the attic. "Sometimes it creaks at night," the man had said with a strained smile. "Best leave it alone." For the first few nights, everything was fine. Then, at 3 a.m., the noises started. Thump, thump, scrape. Mark woke up, pulse pounding. The sound was coming from above their bed. Julie stirred beside him. What was that? Probably just the house settling, Mark murmured. But deep down, he wasn't so sure. The next night, the sounds grew louder. It wasn't just creaking anymore. It was footsteps. Mark couldn't ignore it. He grabbed a flashlight and climbed the attic ladder. The air was thick with dust and something else. Something rotten. The beam of his flashlight flickered across deep scratch marks on the wooden floor, as if something had been dragged. Then he saw it, a door he hadn't noticed before, partially open at the far end of the attic. A whisper brushed against his ear. "Come closer." Mark stumbled back, heart hammering. The attic hatch slammed shut behind him. Then he heard it, breathing. Something stepped out of the shadows. It wasn't human. It had too many eyes. Mark screamed. The next morning, Julie woke up alone. The attic was sealed shut. Mark was never found.
Where are you?
Emma was babysitting 6-year-old Jake when the knocking started. It was almost midnight. The house was quiet. Jake had fallen asleep on the couch. The knock came again, 3 slow, deliberate taps. Emma frowned. Who would be knocking at this hour? She checked the peephole. A woman stood outside, pale skin, long black hair, and a head tilted at a strange angle. "Help me," the woman croaked. "Please, I need to come inside." Something about her voice made Emma's stomach churn. It was too flat, too hollow. Her fingers hovered over the lock. "Don't!" She turned. Jake was sitting up, wide-eyed, his tiny hands gripping the blanket. "That's not a real person." Emma's throat tightened. "What do you mean?" Jake didn't blink. "She comes at night. If you open the door, she'll take you away." A chill ran down Emma's spine. The knocking grew louder. Emma's phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. "Let me in." Her breath hitched. The woman outside grinned, her mouth stretched too wide. The porch light flickered. Then the knocks turned violent, pounding, shaking the doorframe. Emma grabbed Jake and bolted to the bedroom, locking the door. Her phone buzzed again. Another text. "You should have let me in." The doorknob started to turn, and Jake whispered one last thing. "She's already inside.